Attendees are in listen-only mode.
Welcome to the Canadian Apprenticeship Forum's live web presentation, Best Practices for Hiring and Retaining Aboriginal Apprentices. My name is Sean Watson and I will be your host. Today's webinar is being recorded and we will make it and the presentation slides available to all of you following the broadcast. The Canadian Apprenticeship Forum is committed to promoting apprenticeship as a way to develop a productive, highly skilled and diverse workforce. According to surveys, only 19% of employers hire and train apprentices. Many employers lack awareness about how to set up and implement an effective apprenticeship program and struggle with recruitment and retention. The Canadian Apprenticeship Forum talked to employers across the country to learn about their best practices for hiring and retaining Aboriginal apprentices. Employers provided tips and strategies based on their own experiences about what works on the job. By creating awareness about best practices, our goal is that non-participating employers will consider hiring and training apprentices, providing more opportunities for Aboriginal peoples. I would now like to introduce Emily Arrowsmith, Researcher and Project Manager at the Canadian Apprenticeship Forum. Emily will take us through the main findings of our recent research and brand new Aboriginal Action Plan. Welcome, Emily.
Thanks, Sean. So the Canadian Apprenticeship Forum is committed to promoting the employment of Aboriginal apprentices, and we wanted to identify and promote best practices. So we did receive funding from the Government of Canada's Workplace Opportunities Removing Barriers to Equity program, which is funded through Employment Social Development Canada. And we talked to employers from across the country in multiple sectors, and we asked them about their best practices when it comes to hiring and retaining Aboriginal apprentices. We talked to employers in oil and gas, forestry, construction, and mining. We also talked to Aboriginal organizations as well about their experiences and the supports that they offer employers who want to hire and retain apprentices. We talked to Aboriginal organizations who are First Nation, Métis, Inuit, reserve, non-reserve, urban, and rural. Overall, we consulted 40 stakeholders. All employers we talked to emphasize that there is a strong business case for hiring and retaining Aboriginal apprentices. They provide access to a stable and local workforce. Many mining sites are located in close proximity to Aboriginal communities. Aboriginal peoples, in fact, make up 50% of the population in Canada's north, where 1/4 of Canada's discovered and undeveloped resources for conventional petroleum are found. It's also hiring and retaining Aboriginal apprentices and tradespeople also enhances a company's corporate image, and this is becoming increasingly important for companies to access certain markets, and it's really seen as a competitive advantage in the marketplace if you have clear policies and good relationships with local Aboriginal communities. Employers that have built relationships with Aboriginal employees and communities may have greater success securing business deals and contracts over the long term, especially as Aboriginal peoples gain more control over territory through land claim settlements. The cost of flying in employees can be significantly less expensive if you rely on your local labor force as opposed to hiring from other parts of Canada. So there's a number of really strong reasons, business case reasons, for wanting to hire and retain Aboriginal employees in the skilled trades. Employers shared some of their best practices, and then their intention in sharing their experiences was to really show that to other employers that it is possible to create effective programs that really help you not only hire Aboriginal apprentices but retain them at your workplace, so you can really benefit from a skilled local labor force. So some of the key points that employers raised with us, they said it was really important to build partnerships. They also said that it's very important to create awareness about skilled trades careers in local communities. They gave tips and strategies for recruiting candidates. They talked about the importance of outlining expectations with employees, preparing candidates for success, usually through essential skills, supports, and help. They talked about facilitating effective workplace communication as really a key factor to retaining your Aboriginal workforce. They talked about the importance of having a number of mentoring supports, not only the journey person mentor who trains and teaches the apprentice the skills of the trade, but also other mentors such as elders, so that the Aboriginal employees have somebody on site who they can talk to. All employers also talked about the importance of rewarding achievement. This is very important for the individual and the community. So I'd like to discuss each of these best practices in a little more detail and provide specific examples from the companies, employers we talked to. All employers really emphasize the importance of building partnerships with Aboriginal communities as really being a key first step to establishing a successful apprenticeship program. Leaders really need to have buy-in for Aboriginal-focused initiatives for them to work, and you need to prepare your workplace and offer cultural awareness workshops to really build intercultural understanding in order to create a welcoming environment. And this is really important groundwork if you want your strategies to be successful. An employee of one mining company noted that the fact that their president has a commitment to Aboriginal initiatives is so important. And when the president sends letters of congratulation or encouragement to apprentices who pass or fail their technical training, it just has such an incredibly positive impact on that individual apprentice's attitude and motivation. Employers talked about making sure to engage your field or operations side of your business and really assessing whether they're ready for this Aboriginal initiative. It's important that you listen to your existing employees and gather feedback from them about their concerns, and really making sure that you have their buy-in, because they really drive the process and the policies day to day in the company. It's very crucial to have the buy-in and understanding of this group early on in the process. One employer from an oil and gas company remarked that ensuring Aboriginal awareness training is mandatory across your business, with high-level messaging from your senior leadership on why the training is mandatory and why the Aboriginal hiring initiative is important to the core of the business, is just really important to ensuring success. Another employer said that it's very important that you ask the chiefs and the councils and the elders and the youth committees for their input about the best ways to engage with the community on employment or capacity building. Employers also said that it's important to create awareness about skilled trades careers. Employers did this by visiting local high schools. Some employers offered try-a-trade opportunities to students to give them a chance to explore the trades hands-on. Others provided equipment or company tours so that students could see the company and the equipment and can imagine what it might be like to work there. Employers also talked about the importance of providing a realistic vision of what a career in the skilled trades is like. So having presentations where you're describing accurately the realities of camp life, you're discussing social issues, money management, employer expectations, time management, and career paths within the company. Employers really need to make sure that any educational or other requirements are clear to potential candidates. For example, if you need a high school diploma, this is something that really needs to be communicated so individuals are motivated to stay in high school and complete. Employers also need to make it clear if you need a driver's license for a particular job so that candidates can start preparing and they won't face any barriers to employment. At this stage, it's also really important to communicate to potential candidates programs that will be recognized by the provincial and territorial apprenticeship authorities in terms of education, so people are really getting into programs and pursuing training in things that are going to be recognized towards their apprenticeship. Employers provided a number of tips and strategies for recruiting candidates. They talked about attending job fairs, going to community events and discussing available job opportunities, making announcements on local radio stations, posting jobs at high school, creating posters that show people working with the statement that this could be you, so showing people a vision of what their career could be, developing targeted recruitment materials that really outline clearly the Aboriginal policies and practices at the company to show that the company takes diversity seriously. Other employers talked about really developing contacts within the community so that when a job is available, they have pre-existing contacts in place and maybe some potential candidates who would be interested can learn about it through the community connection. Employers talked about posting jobs internally and seeking internal candidates before trying to find outside candidates. Employers also shared that sometimes they offer a labor opportunity to an individual first, so the person can gain new skills, and if the individual is able to make some progress, they offer them an apprenticeship opportunity later on. During the interview process, it's very important to be sensitive to cultural differences. Aboriginal organizations pointed out that it is important to keep in mind that some candidates might be shy or they might have difficulty articulating or marketing their skill sets. It was suggested that asking candidates to provide examples about when they learned from others might really resonate well and might give the individual an opportunity to really open up and talk. Learning as a community endeavor is a key learning principle in many Aboriginal cultures. So just being careful about the way you're asking the questions and making sure you're providing the individual opportunities to talk about their variety of experiences is really important. It's important to outline the expectations with any new apprentices from the beginning. So companies talked about the importance of making it clear the rules around flights to the camps, and that if you miss a flight, there are consequences related to that, so just making sure that that's in clear with the employee from the beginning. The difficulties that some new apprentices face navigating the apprenticeship system, including the paperwork that must be completed prior to becoming a registered apprentice, was a concern that was raised, and employers advise that it's a good idea to help new hires navigate this process and be clear in explaining all of the technical training requirements up front. Preparing candidates for success was also something that employers felt was really important. They talked about doing assessments, offering academic upgrading, and especially offering support around writing the multiple choice certification examination. All of these learning supports really help apprentices make good progress through their technical training and are key to helping them pass that final certification examination. Some companies provided adult educators on site or tutors so that individuals could get help with math or reading. And other companies offered opportunities through learning centers or other learning opportunities so that people could get additional training or even earn their high school diploma if they did not have one. Companies reported that putting some effort into providing these learning supports really paid off for them, so that if individuals were just able to get a bit of help with their math and English skills, they were able to progress much more easily through their training. Many of them were able to earn high school diplomas, and then the apprentice success rate was much higher. Companies, some of them talked about evaluating apprentices right from the very beginning, and the importance of implementing aptitude tests so that any strengths or weaknesses can be identified from the beginning, and that the learner can be provided with help right away. The most important issue that both Aboriginal organizations and employers raised throughout the consultation process was really the importance of effective workplace communication. This can be a major challenge because you're dealing with employees who have different cultural standards and practices, and this can impact employee behavior at the workplace. It's really important that you give employees a chance to voice their concerns, but that you're doing it in a manner in which the employee feels really comfortable. You have to keep in mind that in some Aboriginal cultures there's a desire to avoid confrontation or make negative comments, so some employees might not feel comfortable speaking up at a meeting in front of a bunch of other people, and they might need another way to really share their concerns. Employers and Aboriginal organizations said that it's very important that you talk to employees honestly and openly about any rules that the company might have about taking time off. Employees may want to participate in cultural or traditional events, and it just has to be clearly explained to the employee that they need to specify the days they want off in advance. Employers can implement cultural day leaves to accommodate these kinds of absences. Another mining company actually experimented with a pilot program where they encouraged better communication among partners, and this was able to reduce some of the absences that employees had around not missing flights when they had to go to the camps. So just encouraging that better communication among employers was able to reduce the number of absences. One employee commented that the cultural barriers that separate workers from one another can be significant because you're dealing with employees who do not speak the same language. Communications can often be negatively impacted, resulting in misunderstanding and conflict. Since the construction industry and many other sectors in the skilled trades can be very difficult and hard, team spirit is really essential for success, and these difficulties around workplace communication can make it very complicated to carry on a good working environment. A lot of the issues around retention people identified as relating to communication. So sometimes somebody will make a joke and it didn't seem so funny to the individual, or there was a misunderstanding around some instructions. And stakeholders really commented that if both parties can communicate properly, it's a lot better at the workplace. Employers shared some specific tips and strategies for trying to facilitate more effective workplace communication. Employers talked about hiring an Aboriginal liaison coordinator or on-site job coaches to really help Aboriginal apprentices articulate their workplace issues. Then they can be brought up and raised with the other people they're working with, and this can address barriers and challenges in a more efficient manner rather than letting things fester. Teaching supervisors and forepersons how to identify culturally based behavior and react appropriately was also very helpful to facilitating workplace communication. And some companies even linked supervisors and forepersons' abilities to cope with this culturally based behavior in their performance reviews. So the management was very motivated to address cultural issues and to really facilitate workplace communication. Providing mentoring is really important on the job. Of course, the apprentice has the journey person mentor who is teaching them the trade, but companies and Aboriginal organizations also talked about the importance of having other kinds of mentors for the Aboriginal apprentices. One company hired site elders who offered critical supports to employees, and the company said these elders were really key to facilitating retention at the workplace. The company noted that in order for these site elders to really work effectively, they must have a clear mandate and role, which is distinct from other human resources staff at the company. Another employer had mentors come to a work site for a week to provide the apprentice with supports, and this was really key to the success of the employer's apprenticeship program. And it really helped, according to the employer, support the apprentice skills development and productivity on site. Rewarding achievement was also very important, and employers talked about providing incentives to reward apprentices who reach key milestones in their training, such as completing a block of technical training or completing so many hours of training. And these achievements are not only important for the individual but the community as well. So companies talked about making sure that the individual was noted in a community newsletter or the press to really celebrate that they had made progress in their apprenticeship training. If employers are interested in hiring and retaining Aboriginal apprentices, there are organizations across the country that can help employers. These organizations, often referred to as asset holders, can offer a number of different varied supports depending on what region the employer is in. But they do offer things like career counseling and mentoring. They can guide candidates through job readiness workshops and training and deliver pre-employment courses. They can pre-screen candidates for employers, including reference checks. They can provide wage subsidies to employers or offer the very important follow-up and ongoing supports for Aboriginal apprentices. Apprenticeship administrators who work for the provincial or territorial apprenticeship authorities can also help guide employers through the registration process, help them guide them through the paperwork about hiring and registering an apprentice, and make sure that the employer knows how to appropriately document the apprentice skills and hours. The Canadian Apprenticeship Forum has also created the Skilled Trades Network. This network centralizes information about apprenticeship best practices for recruitment and retention, and also has centralized information about employer financial supports. Over the next year, CAF will be reaching out to employers to share best practices, to discuss training issues, and promote apprenticeship. Opportunities to attend employer HR committee meetings or employer conferences are welcome. And we'd also be interested in learning from apprenticeship stakeholders any initiatives that they might have regarding hiring and retaining Aboriginal apprentices. So please feel free to share any of those programs or initiatives with us. The Aboriginal Action Plan is available for any apprenticeship stakeholders who would like to review the information presented in this PowerPoint today. So Sean, I'd like to pass it back to you.
Great, thanks Emily. The Canadian Apprenticeship Forum is also working with partners such as the Northern Manitoba Sector Council to share examples of successful initiatives and programs that are helping Aboriginal apprentices and tradespeople secure employment. The Council was developed to assist in building a skilled workforce. They work closely with Northern employers to assess their needs and develop projects to align with the demands. Jamie Grant is a project coordinator who previously worked on the Lalor Mining Project, a $400 million development in Snow Lake, Manitoba. This is the largest mining project in Manitoba's history. The Northern Manitoba Sector Council are currently managing 3 large projects: the Northern Construction Trades Training Project, Swan Valley Heavy Duty Co-op Project, and the Northern Delivery of Power Engineer Class 5 and 4, as well as several other smaller projects. Jamie will walk us through the Northern Construction Trades Training Apprenticeship project that is specifically targeted to Northern Aboriginal peoples. This project is designed for a special entry into apprenticeship through to Red Seal in 3 high-demand trades: industrial electrician, industrial mechanic, millwright, and steam fitter pipe fitter. Welcome to Jamie.
Thanks, Sean. I'm just going to get the slide going here. Okay, so the Northern Construction Trades Training Pilot Program started June 2014 was when we really started the recruitment and the marketing of the program. What you're seeing on the screen now is just a picture of the class after their first milestone in the project, which was the 12 weeks of Intro to Trades training that we put in the front end of it, which I'll discuss further. We'll call it the NCTT, we call it that for short, is an innovative partnership approach to attain Red Seal trades training in Northern Manitoba. We are somewhat remote in the location where in the north of Manitoba, where apprenticeships, you don't normally have an opportunity unless you have or with a large employer. So this project was designed to give an entry into apprenticeship for Aboriginals from remote communities all across the north that wouldn't have regularly had an opportunity. What you're seeing on the screen here is the partners that are involved with us in the project. Northern Manitoba Sector Council is managing the project with Apprenticeship Manitoba, Manitoba Hydro, the Government of Manitoba, Workplace Education Manitoba, UCN, which is the college that provides the technical training, and MKO, which is a representation of Indian bands across Manitoba. So the project objective is to train up to 30 Northern Aboriginals in the 3 high-demand trades, so industrial electrician, industrial mechanics, and steam fitter pipe fitters are the 3 trades that we have incorporated into the project. And this was based on what industry was telling us, what the need was within the industry across the north. So that's how those trades were developed. So the unique training model gives an opportunity to Northern people to get into an apprenticeship through an entry that does not exist in other training programs. What we see across the north pretty commonly, especially with Aboriginal type training, is there was a ton of pre-employment programs that would give you, maybe an equivalent to a level 1, but these people could not get jobs out of these. We've seen that across different communities we visited and we've talked to, that there was just no options for them after that pre-employment. And when it came to funding, the bands would fund their members to take these pre-employment programs, and then they would be bumped down into the listing, which could be 3 years, 4 years by the next time they would get funding for another program. So we looked at, could we bring something in that would actually get people jobs, train to employment, and that's how this project was developed. Is we're taking them right from entry level all the way to Red Seal. Another unique factor of this financial and support services that allow participants to enter into training without financial and logistical burdens. So within the project, financial resources such as living allowances and lodging allowances are incorporated into the program, so that if people could take the training and still be able to maintain a livelihood. It is a full-time program, so either you're in full-time technical training or you're in full-time employment. So we needed to make sure that we had everybody focused and try to remove some of the barriers, and financial being one of them. Apprentices are indentured to the Northern Manitoba Sector Council, taking away risk from employers. So us as the Northern Manitoba Sector Council are a registered institution. So we are actually able to indenture the apprentices ourselves initially. And the plan is as they get higher up in the levels in their apprenticeships, that we would actually transfer indentureship over to the employers once they've settled into an employer that they feel like they would like to stay with. We are heading into level 2s in the project right now, and we're already getting some requests from employers to transfer the indentureship over because they don't want to lose the apprentice. Another perk to the program was we were able to offer wage subsidies for up to 3 years for our placements. This proved to be another key factor in securing placements with employers. Of course, it's we work with mining specifically, energy and forestry are our major sectors here in the north. So if economic times are tough, these wage subsidies sure help the employers in taking on somewhat green employees and giving them an opportunity to train. So this has been a real big perk for us. The Northern Manitoba Sector Council manages all administration of the project, including the apprentice blue books, wage subsidies, and the living allowances. This has been a real good thing for employers, as it's taken off some admin from them, especially on the blue books and the wage subsidy side of things. They've basically send us an invoice once a month, and we issue them a check, and then we do all our reporting through the governments in retrieving the wage subsidies that way. It's proved to work out very well. So mentor and academic support available throughout the journey to Red Seal. So we do have 2 active mentors that are on staff around the clock that the apprentices can contact with any sort of issues that they will assist with. So this is I'm going to show you a little bit about the journey that we've been on with our apprentices so far. This is the project team, so it's made up of Northern Manitoba Sector Council. There's our executive director, we've got an Aboriginal coordinator, myself as the project coordinator, mentor and coach, and then our various partners. This is a picture of some of the team members that we're not often all together, but this is a few of us. These are just some more visuals of us in the class. A lot of coaching, a lot of encouraging. We had to bring people from all over the north to one central location, which many people for the first time left their communities, and that proved to be a challenge. But developing the team very early on and the relationships definitely helped these apprentices from leaving their home communities. Just some of the So when we were identifying the potential candidates, the first thing we did was market the opportunity. We definitely did more of a target market. We knew which communities we wanted to stay in the north, and Northern Manitoba was our focus. Identifying the community resource people proved to be very, very successful for us. As you'll see further in some slides, engaging those resource workers not only brought us some of our candidates that we have today, but they helped us on a lot of the logistics, a lot of the supports, and they continue to be, we continue to have a working relationship here, a year and a half later. So that was a real good thing to happen for us. Developing resource materials, connecting with community leadership. This was meetings with chief and councils to talk about the project and what it was going to mean. We did have some communities that did not like the idea of the apprentices leaving the community, but when they seen what journey they would be on and what they would come out, we did get support from everyone. We never, you know, in a year and a half in, have not had any communities that have given us any sort of grief on, you know, displacing their members or taking people away or not providing opportunities to everybody. We've had a really good relationship with the communities, and we continue to work with them going forward. Community-based meetings and meeting with potential candidates. So this was how we found our candidates. This is some of the marketing material that we issued. We had posters. Whoops, just go back. I'm bumping all ahead. Okay, we had posters that we issued to the resource workers to put into the band offices, put around the community, that kind of stuff. Just a one-pager. You know, Northern Construction Trades Training, learn a trade that's in high demand, how does it work, who should apply, how to apply. Just a very, very easy poster. And then what you're seeing on the right-hand side is the Northern Construction Trades Training intake checklist. So this was what we gave our resource workers to make sure they almost pre-screened some of the people before they encouraged them to apply. So we wanted to make sure, number one, that they were committed to a 4-year trade. This wasn't a pre-employment program. This wasn't something that, you know, was a 3-month training and they're done. They needed to actually commit to 4 years. They also needed to commit to leaving the community. And, you know, basically attendance and you know, rules, employment, all of that being factored in was one of the things that they needed to, you know, get across to their members before they encouraged them to apply. So that was one thing we did. This was some of the resource staff that we worked with from some of the communities. And I mean, these communities were some that you could only get in there by plane or winter roads. We had to fly into some you know, we really engaged with these people, and like I said, we continue to work with them even, you know, a year and a half later. So. Community engagement. So we held community-based meetings, and these were the locations and the dates that we held these meetings. We did as much as we could face-to-face. You know, we wanted to show our presence in the community. We wanted to show that we, you know, we're wanting to recruit and train their people. We want to provide opportunity to them that they would normally never have. And this was just some of the locations that we visited. And these are some of the pictures of the community visits. York Landing is one that is very, very remote. You can only get in there by plane or by winter road. When we made the arrangements with the resource workers, they actually arranged for a community barbecue for us. So this is what you're seeing in this picture. And I mean, we had all ages of people, but it really engaged. We had elders, we had, you know, different kids, everything. So it really engaged the community. We actually went up to Churchill, Manitoba. We even have 2 apprentices in the program from Churchill as well. So. This is another picture from York Landing at the barbecue. So you can see it's quite a diverse group of people in attendance. Cross Lake, Manitoba was another area. There's a couple of our resource workers that we worked with cooking up some hot dogs. And some of the kids. So this really, you know, we came in and we weren't consultants. We weren't there to take money. We were there to offer opportunity, and we really had a great response from the community that it built that trust very, very early on with the community, and I think that was a critical piece. We had over 200 applications received from across the north. Of those 200, there was an application screening that took place by a assessment team. We sent 70 of those 200 applications actually went for an essential skills assessment. So due to the timelines of our project, we didn't have the option of really doing a lot of upskilling. So we needed to make sure that our candidates that we selected were functioning at the academic levels we needed them to actually enter into the project and continue into technical training. So of those assessments, of the 70 essential skills assessments, 40 candidates were interviewed. Virtually all the interviews were held in Thompson, Manitoba. So we had one central location where we did the majority of the interviews, with candidates traveling from various communities by bus, plane, and car. Even the train from Churchill, we had 2 come on the train from Churchill, with the surprising outcome of no one missing an appointment or being late, which was a real show to the communities, to everybody involved, that this was serious, and we had made some good choices. So 35 candidates of those 40 were then selected from the program. And this is just we use this presentation kind of across different areas. So these are faces. These are the people that are enrolled in the program, industrial electricians. And so we've got First Nations and Métis and Inuit. And we've got their band names on the bottom, as you'll see. Sasha Shorting, the one on the right, our only woman in the program. So she has been doing some wonderful things for us, talking about Indigenous women in trades. She's a level 2 electrician now, and a single mom of 2 who's just doing some great things. We're super proud of her, and she's stuck up with all the boys and all the training with the boys, and she's done very well. So you can see we've got a lot of electricians. That was the trade of choice. We left it open for, you know, based on our candidate selection into what trades they wanted to get into. The majority of them selecting electrician. And here's some of our mill rates. And these are our steam fitter pipe fitters. We've got 4 steam fitter pipe fitters. So the project kicked off January 19th, 2015. This was the very first day that we had everybody come from all across the north to be together in one centralized location for 14 weeks of front-end training. We put in 2 weeks of life skills. These were our instructors for the life skills training. And 12 weeks of intro to trades. So within these 14 weeks of this upfront training, we treated this training as if they were going to work every day. So there was very, very strict attendance policies. They needed to make sure they phoned in if they weren't able to make it to class. The group actually organized some after-hours recreation just to, this was very good in team building as well. Technical training has all been completed now. They're actually going to be scheduled for level 2 technical training this fall. So out of the 35 candidates that we started with, today we have 28 still in the program. So our numbers are holding up pretty good. Industrial placements, these placements are all across the north in different industries. We've got a large chunk of them working at the hydro dam sites in the new builds, the hydro dams. We've got some working with the major industrial employers. We've got some in residential electrical, some in commercial electrical. So there's quite a range of employers that we have. And lessons learned to date, recruitment phase, additional time for recruitment. I guess this is one area that you don't want to rush. You want to make sure you got the right cohort of candidates. Trusting partnerships is a critical element to determine success. So we say trusting because, you know, developing trust within the communities was a big success and a barrier to meeting up with the right people, getting the resource workers, chiefs, and councils engaged in what we were doing and supporting the project. The critical role of community resource workers, procuring well in advance the logistical supports. Of course, for us, there was a lot of movement of people, a lot of logistics involved. Recognizing the need to include a mentor resource. We're a year and a half in, and we still have two full-time mentors, and we are going to leave them on staff for the remainder of this year because we are seeing some transitions still. We're faced with social issues on a continual basis that still come up. So we do want to make sure that mentor resource is available that can help these candidates get through these, you know, things that come up unexpectedly and keep them focused on their journey. The financial administrative role critical to the project. Had we not had those financial supports built into the program, we were guaranteed we would have probably lost half of the class very early on. Obviously people they've got children, they've got families. It's hard to maintain a full-time job or a part-time job, go to school and try and do all this, especially when you're being put into a new location. So having those projects proved to be a real critical piece. And I think that's it for my presentation. So I'll pass it over to Sean.
Great. Great. Thank you so much, Jamie. What a great program, and so nice to see the successes coming out of it.
Yes. Yeah, it's been good.
Next up in our webinar series on April 28th, you'll learn about the Canadian Apprenticeship Forum's Apprentice e-panel. To better understand the issues affecting apprentices across Canada, CAF has developed this online panel for Canadian apprentices and new journey persons. Participants will be surveyed a few times each year to gather their opinions and experiences on such topics as training, wages, and certification. Emily Aerosmith will describe the goals and how the information will be used to inform apprenticeship stakeholders. Then on May 11th, join us to hear about current Canadian Apprenticeship Forum initiatives for women in the trades, including the Skilled Trades Network. Graham Trafford from Mott Electric will also share perspectives on hiring and retaining women in the skilled trades. Finally, it's now less than 2 months before our national conference, Apprenticeship Hands on the Future, taking place June 5th to 7th in Vancouver, BC. Don't miss the chance to learn about all the great things that are happening in apprenticeship training in Canada at this event. For more information on the outstanding program we've put together and a link to online registration, please visit www.caf-fca.org. If anyone has any questions for either of our presenters today, please feel free to contact the Canadian Apprenticeship Forum by phone or email, and we will get those answers for you. Thanks again, everyone, for joining us, and have a great day.